They thought she'd be easy to forget, just another quiet black teenage girl in a system built to grind people down, just another name, another file, another sentence checked off and thrown away. That's what they believed the day they brought Zariah Moore into that Alabama courtroom, barely 17, small enough that her orange jumpsuit seemed to swallow her whole, standing there, wrists cuffed, face calm, not flinching, not even when Judge Malcolm Crane read her verdict like he was reciting the weather. Life in prison, no chance of parole, next case. Nobody gasped. Nobody cried out. Not even the prosecutor who'd spent weeks painting her as some master criminal like they'd already moved on. Everyone except for Pops, sitting in the second row, hands trembling around the bench, holding on to hope, or maybe just holding on because it was all he had left. But the world always underestimates the quiet ones. They think the kids who keep their heads down don't matter, that the ones who never make a ripple can't start a wave. That's the trick until the spark finally catches. When a judge told her she could make a phone call, Zariah didn't break, didn't plead. She just turned, eyes steady, and said, "I'd like to make a phone call." Her voice wasn't loud, but you felt it. The bailiff froze, Pops blinked, and Judge Crane just raised an eyebrow like he was waiting for her to beg. But she didn't call home, didn't call a lawyer. She called Washington, D.C. 1,000 miles away, Leona Carter, Attorney General, the most powerful law enforcement official in the country. The first black woman to hold the title was fielding questions under the bright lights, every answer polished and controlled, every word shielded. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. But she picked UPAN, 2 words, soft and steady. Made her knees go weak. It's me. She hadn't heard that voice since she'd left Birmingham, chasing justice and leaving her daughter behind. No tears, no begging, just a reminder. You once said the law protects the voiceless. Now it's your daughter who can't be heard. Leona's world stopped. All those years spent fighting for justice, building a career, convincing herself it was all for Zariah hand now. Here she was, sitting in a cell, the system closing in, and Leona wasn't there. Every excuse, every late-night justification collapsed. She left the press room and sat on a cold tile floor, for the first time not as the Attorney General, but as a mother who had failed. She found her daughter's Felino witnesses, no real evidence, one blurry video clip, all the marks of a rush job, all the marks of a system more interested in headlines than justice. Zariah's case had gone straight to Judge Crane, who'd buried dozens of kids with a rubber stamp conviction, Crane, who'd never been touched until now. There wasn't a plan, not at first. But Leona didn't need one, she just needed to act. She called in an old favor, someone still in Birmingham, someone who knew where the real records were. She went home. Pops opened the door, stared at her like she was a ghost. "What took you so long?" he asked, his voice rough. "I thought I was doing the right thing," she answered, tears burning in her eyes. "But I left her, and now she's paying for it." Pops didn't forgive, Easily told her. "We didn't just leave her. You left all of us." But he stepped aside, let her in. "Don't come in here to talk. Come in here to fight." Leona sat up at the kitchen table, Pops watching in silence. She pulled up Judge Crane's record, same pattern, same outcomes, no defense, max sentences, always kids like Zariah. But she needed proof, someone inside who'd seen it happen. That's when Pops mentioned Michael Travers, once a neighborhood kid, now Crane's belief, a man with secrets weighing on his soul. They found him at a rundown diner, and he finally confessed. "I've seen things I shouldn't have let slide." Judge Crane had been railroading kids for years, fast-tracking cases, ignoring evidence, and nobody stopped him. Michael had seen Zariah's plans for a youth center lighting system. She'd been volunteering, trying to make the alley safer. The night of the fire, her notes and diagrams became evidence. The tape that showed she'd left hours before the fire was edited, cropped, used to frame her. Michael had access to the original, uncut footage, the truth. That night, Leona and Michael broke into the courthouse. Michael distracted the guard while Leona slipped down to the archive room, gloved hands picking the lock like she'd done it 1,000 times. She got the drive with the real footage, but nearly got caught crawling through a vent and dropping into the maintenance corridor, breathless but alive. They brought it back to Pop's house, hearts pounding. "What's on it?" Pops asked. "The truth," Leona whispered. But the system was moving fast. Judge Crane was pushing to transfer Zariah to state prison, where she wouldn't survive. Pops demanded Leona go public. She hesitated, knowing the DOJ would try to bury the story, but waiting meant risking everything. He told her, "She needs to see you fight not as the Attorney General, as her mother." Leona realized he was right. She called Jada Banks, an old friend turned firebrand journalist. Jada posted the story online with the footage, the patterns, the names, and the final twist. Zariah was the Attorney General's daughter. The internet exploded. Protests filled the streets. The DOJ went into panic mode, and suddenly the world was watching Birmingham. Michael Travers found his courage. He stood in front of the courthouse, folder in hand, and told the world how Judge Crane had framed Zariah and railroaded dozens of other kids. His testimony blew the doors off the case. Judge Crane was forced to step down. Judge Regina Hall, a legend for her integrity, took over. In a packed courtroom, the defense laid out the evidence. The prosecution folded, and Judge Hall vacated Zariah's conviction and record for all to see. But Leona and Zariah knew the fight wasn't over. There were 57 other names, kids who'd been crushed by the same machine. Leona stood at City Hall, folder in hand, and promised to keep fighting not as a politician, but as a mother who'd almost lost everything. The watchdogs, a team of civil rights attorneys and career prosecutors, dug into every case Crane touched. Judge Hall read the names, one after another, and set them free. The pipeline of injustice started to crumble. Zariah didn't disappear. She opened a little tech club in an old corner store, the quiet code, teaching kids to code, to build, to speak up, to fix what others said couldn't be fixed. Pops gave her the keys. The neighborhood helped paint the walls, and Leona watched from the back, learning how to be present, how to stay. The story spread, not as a headline, but as hope other cities called. More kids showed up, the movement grew. In the end, justice wasn't a single verdict, a headline, or a march. It was a girl who refused to be erased, a mother who came home to fight, and a community that remembered their power. If you've carried a quiet voice, if you've ever felt invisible, remember Zariah. Real change starts small, with people who refuse to give up. If this story moved you, share your thoughts below. Tell us what justice means to you. Tell us what you'd fight for. Your voice matters, and sometimes the quietest one is the one that changes everything.